As Americans, it's important for us to remember our history. First of all, go back and study the history of the First Amendment. The amendments to the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights, the very first one that they dealt with was freedom of worship? No, freedom of religion. The First Amendment is about our freedom to believe.
Hi, I'm Dr. Keenan Curitan, and we're here at one of Washington, D.C.'s most iconic sites, the Jefferson Memorial, commemorating the contributions of Thomas Jefferson, founding father and third president of the United States. I have here a pocket Constitution. By the way, every American ought to have one and be familiar with it because it's our governing document. And if you know what this says, you won't be fooled by politicians. But this Constitution would have never been ratified without the promise of a Bill of Rights. The first freedom is what? The freedom of religion, right? The freedom to believe. Let me just read it to you. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
There's a healthy debate as to what is meant by the establishment of religion, that which is prohibited by the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. It may have meant different things to different Americans at this point in history. I think the one thing that we can say they were all agreed on is that it prohibited the institutional establishment of a particular sect or denomination, the kind of arrangement that one found not only in England but virtually all European countries at this time. So there was very much a focus on not having an institutional tie between the powers and the purse of the state and the local church. And so clearly that was among those things that they desired to prohibit.
There were a number of people responsible for religious freedom in America, but the most well-known is Thomas Jefferson. And yet when it comes to the role of faith in public life, Jefferson's views are the subject of the most debate. No matter what you read online or hear in the media or in the classroom, Jefferson's views about God and our religious freedom are right here, etched in stone for all to see. Look at the first panel right over here to my left. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Then he ends up down at the bottom for the support of this declaration with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, right? We mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Look over here at the second panel. The Declaration of Independence there. This second panel is the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom that Thomas Jefferson drafted in 1777. He starts out by saying, Almighty God has created the mind free. All attempts to influence it by temporal punishments or burdens are a departure from the plan of the holy author of our religion. Who's that? Jesus, right? Hebrews 12. Who's the author and the finisher of our faith, right? And then notice the third panel. Let's read it together. God, who gave us life, gave us liberty. Can the liberties of a nation be secure when we've removed a conviction that these liberties are the gift of God? Okay. In 3 of these 4 panels, God is referenced.
Jefferson, throughout his adult life, was a champion of religious liberty. In fact, he was known by Americans as a great champion of religious liberty. Now, we can speculate as to why that is. One thing we do know, that his native Central Virginia was a place where there had been great persecution of religious minorities, minority religious sects, in particular the Baptists. And so Jefferson had observed this firsthand. And so one can speculate that he recognized and appreciated the need to protect people in the exercise of their religion.
Now, interestingly, Jefferson, Madison, and their colleagues realized that future lawmakers might try to limit this right. And there was nothing they could do about it except issue this warning, quote, "We are free to declare and do declare that the rights hereby asserted are of the natural rights of mankind, and that if any act shall be hereafter passed to repeal the present or to narrow its operation, such act, such law will be an infringement of the natural right." They were warning of what is literally happening today, which is the infringement of our natural God-given right, the freedom to believe. So Thomas Jefferson championed religious liberty for all Americans and laid the foundation for our First Amendment freedom of religion. I wonder what he and the other founders who fought so hard for our first freedom would think about what is happening today. Modern courts and those who bow to their opinions are now infringing on our natural God-given rights. Our freedom to believe is under fire. What should we do about it? Well, Jefferson's words etched around the top of the rotunda in marble are not a bad place to start. "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man."
Folks, we are free to believe. And when we as Americans willingly sacrifice our liberties, our freedom to believe, we are going to lose our country. The First Amendment is about our freedom to believe.